A major and potentially explosive development is now being reported in one of the most strategically important waterways on Earth. According to emerging reports and maritime monitoring sources, Iran has reportedly carried out a major strike inside the Strait of Hormuz, targeting a United States naval escort formation that was accompanying a crude oil tanker through the narrow shipping corridor. The incident comes at a moment when tensions between Iran on one side and the United States, together with Israel on the other, are already rising sharply across the Middle East. If confirmed, this event could represent one of the most dangerous naval confrontations in the region in recent years. Because the Strait of Hormuz is not just another maritime route, it is the single most important oil transit choke point in the global energy system. Nearly 1/5 of the world's oil supply passes through this narrow waterway every single day. And any disruption there can ripple across global markets within hours. According to sources monitoring maritime traffic and regional security activity, the incident occurred while a convoy of vessels was attempting to escort a crude oil tanker through the narrow shipping lane connecting the Persian Gulf to the open ocean. The tanker was reportedly transporting oil shipments from Gulf producers toward international markets. Surrounding the tanker was a United States naval escort formation composed of multiple warships, tasked with protecting the vessel as it navigated the increasingly tense waters of the Strait of Hormuz. According to sources familiar with maritime monitoring data, the escort group reportedly included 3 U.S. Navy vessels operating in coordinated formation. These reportedly included an Arleigh Burke-class guided missile destroyer, DDG, a Ticonderoga-class guided missile cruiser, CG, and an Avenger-class mine countermeasure ship, MCM. This type of escort configuration is often used during high-risk maritime security operations. Destroyers and cruisers provide advanced radar coverage, missile defense capability, and long-range detection systems. Meanwhile, mine countermeasure vessels are responsible for scanning the seafloor and detecting potential underwater mines that could threaten commercial shipping lanes. The presence of such a formation indicates just how seriously the risks in the Strait of Hormuz are currently being taken. Before we go further into the details of what is being reported about this strike and what it could mean for global shipping, energy markets, and the escalating confrontation between Iran, the United States, and Israel, make sure to like this video and subscribe to BCC News, so you don't miss our latest updates and deep analysis on major geopolitical and military developments happening around the world, because the situation unfolding in the Persian Gulf right now could have consequences far beyond the region itself. The attack in the Strait of Hormuz. According to sources monitoring radar activity and maritime tracking data in the Gulf region, the convoy was moving through the Strait of Hormuz at a time when shipping traffic had already dropped dramatically due to the ongoing crisis. Over the past several weeks, the waterway has become one of the most sensitive and volatile maritime corridors on the planet. Shipping companies have begun delaying voyages, some vessels have rerouted entirely, and insurance premiums for ships entering the Persian Gulf have surged due to rising security risks. The situation escalated earlier this year as the broader confrontation between Iran, the United States, and Israel intensified across multiple fronts. Since then, the Persian Gulf has seen a noticeable increase in military activity. Missile launches, drone patrols, naval deployments, and intelligence operations by multiple countries operating in the region. Iranian officials have repeatedly warned that if the conflict continues to escalate, Tehran possesses the capability to disrupt or even close the Strait of Hormuz. Because of those warnings, every oil tanker entering or exiting the Persian Gulf is now being closely monitored by governments, energy markets, and military analysts around the world. According to sources familiar with the latest incident, the convoy escorting the tanker was part of a broader effort to maintain commercial shipping through the strait, despite rising tensions. But as the escort group moved through the narrow shipping corridor, the formation reportedly came under attack. Iranian claims circulating through regional media suggest that coastal missile systems were used to target the convoy. For decades, Iran has invested heavily in developing land-based anti-ship missile systems, designed specifically to threaten naval vessels operating near its coastline. These systems are particularly effective in narrow waterways like the Strait of Hormuz, because when ships have limited room to maneuver, Their ability to evade incoming missiles becomes significantly reduced. According to sources familiar with the incident, the strike reportedly involved advanced anti-ship missiles capable of flying extremely close to the water's surface while traveling at very high speeds. This type of flight profile is known as chow sea skimming. Military analysts say sea skimming missiles can be extremely difficult to detect on radar because they remain hidden below the radar horizon until the final moments before impact. Iranian officials have previously claimed that their latest generation of missile systems incorporates advanced targeting guidance technology capable of tracking moving ships and adjusting trajectory during the final phase of flight. If such weapons were used during the reported strike, it could explain how the convoy was successfully targeted in such a confined maritime corridor. Damage reports and explosion sources monitoring maritime traffic and satellite imagery reported multiple explosions and fires within the shipping corridor shortly after the attack occurred. Large plumes of smoke were reportedly visible rising from the waterway. Tracking networks used by global shipping observers suggested that both the escort vessels and the tanker suffered severe damage. According to initial reports circulating among maritime security analysts, several vessels involved in the convoy were either critically disabled or left burning in the strait. Debris and burning fuel were reportedly seen floating across sections of the waterway. Such scenes illustrate just how quickly a naval incident in the Strait of Hormuz can escalate into a major crisis, because the narrow geography of the strait means that even a single damaged vessel can disrupt shipping traffic for miles in both directions. Iranian media outlets later described the strike as part of what they called a defensive response to escalating military pressure from the United States and Israel. Iranian officials have long argued that foreign naval forces operating near Iranian waters represent a direct security threat. They have repeatedly emphasized that their military possesses the capability to target ships operating close to the Iranian coastline, and incidents like the one now being reported appear intended to reinforce that message. Shafor's possible aircraft involvement. In addition to the missile launches, some monitoring networks also detected aircraft activity near the engagement zone around the time of the strike. Radar analysis reportedly showed several aircraft flying at relatively low altitude before returning toward Iranian airspace. Some analysts believe these aircraft may have been fighter jets supporting the strike operation. Their role could have included providing targeting data, relaying surveillance information, or coordinating the timing of missile launches. However, the precise role of aircraft remains unclear based on currently available information. What is clear is that the location of this incident carries enormous global significance. Why the Strait of Hormuz matters. The Strait of Hormuz is widely considered the most important oil transit choke point in the world. Under normal conditions, nearly 20% of global oil supply passes through this narrow corridor every single day. The strait connects the Persian Gulf, home to some of the world's largest oil producers, to international shipping routes supplying energy to Asia, Europe, and beyond. Because the waterway is so narrow, it is extremely vulnerable during periods of military tension. Even relatively small incidents can have major consequences for global energy markets. But the current situation goes far beyond a small incident. Shipping activity through the Strait of Hormuz has already dropped sharply since the start of the crisis. Many vessels are now waiting outside the Persian Gulf rather than risking passage through the strait. Insurance companies have raised maritime risk assessments, and some shipping companies have temporarily suspended voyages altogether. Global economic consequences. The global economy depends heavily on the continued flow of oil through the Gulf. If that flow were significantly disrupted, the effects could spread rapidly across international markets. Energy prices could spike, transportation costs could rise, supply chains could face sudden pressure, and financial markets often react sharply to geopolitical events that threaten major energy supply routes. This is why governments around the world monitor developments in the Strait of Hormuz so closely, because events in these narrow waters can influence global economic stability within hours. Rising military tensions. Beyond the economic consequences, the military implications are also extremely serious. A confrontation involving naval forces inside the Strait of Hormuz has long been considered one of the most dangerous scenarios in Middle Eastern security. The geography of the strait makes it difficult for large warships to maneuver. At the same time, the surrounding coastline provides ideal locations for missile batteries, drones, and surveillance systems. This combination creates a battlefield environment where naval vessels can become highly vulnerable. Military analysts have warned for years that any conflict involving Iran in this region could quickly escalate, and the latest reported strike demonstrates exactly how fragile stability in the waterway can be. On what could happen next? If tensions continue to rise, additional naval forces could be deployed by the United States and allied countries to protect commercial shipping, aircraft carriers. Destroyers, surveillance aircraft, and missile defense systems could move closer to the strait. Meanwhile, Iran's own naval forces and coastal defense units could increase patrol operations along the coastline. Fast attack boats, missile batteries, drone surveillance systems, and radar installations could all be positioned throughout the region. Such developments would transform the Strait of Hormuz into one of the most heavily militarized waterways on Earth. The bigger geopolitical picture. The broader geopolitical context is essential to understanding why tensions have reached this point. The confrontation between Iran, the United States, and Israel has been intensifying across multiple fronts: military operations, cyber activities, intelligence operations, and proxy conflicts throughout the Middle East. Regional allies and partners have also become involved, raising concerns that the crisis could expand further. For decades, the Strait of Hormuz has been viewed as a potential flashpoint in any major confrontation involving Iran and Western powers, because control over this narrow corridor provides enormous strategic leverage. Any country capable of disrupting traffic through the strait can influence global energy markets almost immediately. For now, governments, energy markets, and military analysts across the world are watching the Strait of Hormuz extremely closely, because what happens in these narrow waters does not stay a regional issue. It has the potential to influence global energy security, economic stability, and geopolitical power dynamics across the Middle East and beyond. If tensions continue to escalate between Iran, the United States, and Israel, further incidents in the Persian Gulf cannot be ruled out. And with nearly 1/5 of the world's oil supply passing through this corridor, the stakes could not be higher. What do you think will happen next? Could this incident trigger a larger confrontation in the Gulf, or will diplomatic efforts prevent the crisis from spiraling further? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. And if you want to stay updated on the latest global conflicts, military developments, and geopolitical analysis, make sure to subscribe to BCC News and turn on notifications, because here on BCC News we break down the world's biggest stories and explain what they mean for the future. Thanks for watching.